All right, buckle up, because today we're diving deep, deep into the wild world of modern dating.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about how people are actually talking about dating, like really talking about it.
Yeah.
We're scrolling through those online forums, the ones where people get raw and maybe even a little spicy.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically, we're zeroing in on like the heterosexual dating scene because let's face it, it's a whole thing these days, right?
It's a thing.
It's a whole thing. And, with all the apps, the algorithms, and the whole he said, she said drama,
Mm-hmm.
it's like trying to navigate a minefield of like mixed signals and dating fatigue.
Yeah.
So we're here to unpack all of that, get a little messy with it, and hopefully help you make some sense of it all.
Absolutely. And I think what's really fascinating is how these online discussions reveal so much about our evolving, well, maybe devolving, I don't know, societal norms,
Right.
gender roles, and how technology, shapes our perceptions of attraction and relationships. It's like holding a mirror up to ourselves.
Like a digital anthropology
Yeah,
project.
exactly.
Okay, so we found this one thread, and it was buzzing, like on fire, about what actually makes a man attractive. And there were some seriously contrasting viewpoints.
Interesting.
Okay, some users were all about like the rough around the edges type, like emphasizing dominance as the sign of masculinity and confidence. It's
Okay.
like they're stuck in a time warp, right?
Yeah, I mean, it does feel very reminiscent of those old school Hollywood heartthrobs,
Yeah.
But I think it's worth considering what those portrayals might be missing or even like perpetuating.
Totally. And get this, a lot of the users were not buying it, like at all. They found that whole act, the whole alpha thing, a total turnoff.
Hmm.
They were craving genuineness, vulnerability, real connection
Yeah.
over someone trying to be like some macho man.
Well, and what's fascinating there is how these differing opinions really expose, I think, the cultural baggage that comes with traditional masculinity.
100%.
Right. Like
Yeah.
you have this expectation for men to be assertive, even dominant, but then that clashes with the desire for authenticity and emotional intelligence, which aren't exactly qualities celebrated in the alpha male stereotype.
Totally. It's like a lose-lose situation.
Right.
Too far one way, you come off as aggressive. Too far the other way, you seem passive.
Exactly. It's like this impossible tightrope.
Right.
And this whole idea of being genuine, I mean, that really resonated in the thread. Like one commenter said, I'm paraphrasing here, the most important thing for both men and women is being able to clearly communicate your desires and values. Like basically being true to yourself is the most attractive quality.
Authenticity is key. And speaking of attraction, we found another thread debating who should make the first move in the digital dating world. This is something I know you have thoughts on,
I do have some thoughts on that, yeah.
because it's a whole debate.
It's a big one. And this one might surprise you. One user claimed that research actually shows that women are initiating contact more often than men on apps, like Tinder, for example.
Which, like, on the surface, seems to go against what we've, I don't know, been taught about traditional gender roles.
Right, exactly. But this user, they backed it up with their own personal experience. They were like, I've actually had more success when women initiate contact.
Okay. Now, I'm really curious. What's your take on this?
So what I find really interesting is how app design and user behavior can actually influence those dating dynamics.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
for example, if women are generally more selective in who they like on these apps, then their initiation, it carries more weight.
Right. It's like a higher value like.
Exactly. It sends a much stronger signal.
So it's not just about who makes the first move, but the context surrounding it, which can get really nuanced in the digital world.
100%. And this actually leads to, I think, a bigger point about the potential for miscommunication and missed connections when we rely solely on those subtle digital cues.
Because a like doesn't automatically equal I'm in love with you,
Exactly. It's like, I like could just mean you're kind of cute, maybe.
Right. Or your dog is cute.
Yeah, I like your dog.
Yeah.
And then not initiating contact, that doesn't mean that someone isn't interested. It's just that they might be hesitant to make a move because the rules of engagement feel constantly in flux.
Right. Because, like, are we texting? Are we liking each other's photos from 2017?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's like trying to decipher a secret code.
100%.
Speaking of deciphering different ways people connect, our deep dive took us to a thread about the challenges within, well, the lesbian dating scene. And this is where things got particularly interesting
Yeah.
because some users Like, they were really stuck on this whole idea that, like, in a lesbian relationship, one partner needs to be more masculine, like the butch role,
Right.
while the other is more feminine.
Yeah.
And it just feels so, like, outdated.
It is interesting how that stereotype like persists even in, the 21st century. And some of the language used in the thread, I mean, it really highlights that.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah.
There was one comment that used this term, and I won't repeat it here. It was pretty bad.
Right.
But it just goes to show how deeply ingrained those stereotypes can be, even in, like, just casual conversations online. Have you noticed this in your research at all?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, language is so powerful, right? Like, it can both reflect and reinforce these harmful stereotypes, sometimes even unintentionally. And it's like a good reminder that even within marginalized communities,
Yeah.
those internalized biases, they can be really persistent.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that, like, we all have work to do in challenging these, like, preconceived notions about, like, how people should or shouldn't express themselves in a relationship.
Right.
But the thing is, what's encouraging is that not everyone in the thread was buying into that whole outdated viewpoint. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Several users were very quick to point out like the incredible diversity within the LGBTQ community,
Yes.
which I thought was really important to see.
Definitely. And you bring up such a good point about, like, diversity and representation, because, like, one user even mentioned this celebrity couple, I think, as a counterexample
Yeah.
to this whole butch femme dynamic,
Yeah.
kind of proving that it isn't like some universal truth about, lesbian relationships.
Exactly, and that's why representation is so crucial, right? When you see more diverse examples of love and partnership, it helps like dismantle those limited and often inaccurate portrayals.
Absolutely.
It's about broadening our understanding of what relationships can look like.
It's like seeing yourself reflected in those positive ways, and that can
Yeah.
be so powerful for people.
100%, it really can. And I think it also challenges us to like question where these stereotypes come from in the first place, right?
Totally.
Because often it boils down to limited visibility,
Yeah.
Like if we only see a very narrow range of experiences represented, it's easy to just assume those are the only possibilities.
It's like you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And it makes you realize how much, like, those ingrained narratives, those stereotypes really shape our perceptions of, like, what love is supposed to look like.
Totally.
As we wrap up our deep dive into this whole online dating world, I feel like we've only just, like, dipped our toes in the water here.
Oh, yeah.
There's just so much complexity at play, right? From those evolving gender roles, thank goodness they're evolving,
Yeah.
to, like, the ever-changing landscape of technology itself.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to navigate.
A lot to navigate.
What surprised you most about these discussions, like, as you were going through everything?
It's so easy to get caught up in the like specific debates,
Yeah.
like who should message first or, what makes someone attractive, like those really surface level things.
Right.
But what struck me most was like this underlying desire for connection
Oh, yeah.
that just came through like in all of these conversations, It's like people are really out there trying to navigate this like new terrain of dating with all of its anxieties and uncertainties.
Totally.
And they're looking for guidance, for shared experiences, maybe even just like a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's like really relatable, even if you're not, actively on the apps yourself.
100%. It's like everyone's trying to figure out the rules of the game,
Right.
but the rules keep changing.
Exactly. And it's like every time you refresh the app, there's a new update.
Literally.
And I think that's why it's just so important to remember that ultimately healthy relationships, they're about communication. They're about respect.
Yeah.
And they're about finding a partner who appreciates you for who you truly are.
Yes.
Like those are the fundamental things that I think transcend the digital age,
It's about connecting on a human level, no matter how many swipes it takes.
Exactly. And I think, these forum snippets, they offer this fascinating glimpse into how some people are experiencing the dating world.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's also important to remember that, like, your own journey is unique,
It is.
So don't be afraid to challenge those expectations, define what matters most to you.
Yes.
And seek out those connections that feel authentic and fulfilling for you.
Love that. Such a good reminder that you get to write your own rules. You get to define what a meaningful connection looks like for you. Thanks for joining us for this insightful deep dive. Until next time, happy dating, and remember, the most important connection you'll ever make is the one with yourself.